What's going on, everyone? So, a team that the Los Angeles Lakers should really keep an eye on, talked about it, made a video about it, is the Toronto Raptors. Toronto Raptors could end up, depending on how this season goes, end up having a fire sale, kind of trying to move off of guys, make several trades, and they have key guys that I think make a lot of sense for the Lakers. Abaji, RJ Barrett, right? Two guys that I think could really come in, play a role, fill in a gap for you. They kind of put themselves in a tough spot, or Ujiri kind of put them in a tough spot, and he's no longer the GM, kind of overpaying for Brandon Ingram, and then also giving him max money. I mean, even Rich Paul was like, we never would have gotten that, right? Like, we got him on that one. Talk about a fleece, right? So, you look at that situation in Toronto, and there's already reports coming out, and even, new management and stuff is like, hey, we're kind of in this rough spot. It was kind of this desperation move. There's all these reports about desperation and whatnot. So they could look to make some moves. And a player in particular, RJ Barrett, who I really want to focus on, because RJ Barrett, I think, makes a lot of sense for the Lakers. I also think there's an argument to be made to get him over an Andrew Wiggins, and I don't think the price would be very different. One kind of thing is, would the Toronto Raptors still look to trade RJ Barrett? Now, they were shopping Barrett, but they were doing so under Ujiri, right? So maybe things have changed since then. But if he kind of does get shopped around and look to be available again, if I'm the Lakers, he's the kind of guy that I would maybe look, because again, gives you a lot of the same things that you'd be looking for in an Andrew Wiggins. Versatility, on and off ball, give you off ball shooting, give you self-creation, make plays for others, rebound, defend multiple positions, play multiple positions. He's a guy that you could slot in 2, 3, even on occasion, small ball lineups of 4. Like, the contracts are nearly identical. RJ Barrett's making $27.7 million. Wiggins making $28 million. And then you look at next season, right? Andrew Wiggins making 29 and some change. RJ Barrett's making 29 and some change, right? And RJ Barrett lines up just like Andrew Wiggins in that like cap preservation of 2027, which the Lakers are trying to preserve the cap space. So you give him a new contract, things fall out. RJ Barrett's also younger, right? At this season he's 25 as opposed to Andrew Wiggins, who he's not old, but he's still 30, right? So you have a couple extra years with him. And even the defensive ratings and stuff, right? The defensive versatility. Andrew Wiggins last year was a 113.5 defensive rating, right? RJ Barrett was a 115.5. Now, obviously 2-point difference is still a 2-point difference. It's a major difference, but you got to keep in mind in context. One guy was on Toronto. The other guy was on teams like the Golden State Warriors, who were really good defensively all season, and then go to Miami, which, they've been a team that can get after it defensively, right? Better than Toronto, right? So RJ Barrett going to a team like the Lakers where he has to buy in more on the defensive side of things. Like, I think that he would have that. I think he'd be able to kind of give you what you'd be looking for in that regard. And even just career-wise, RJ Barrett is a guy that is a solid defensive rating type of guy, right? You look at RJ Barrett, he's a career 114.7. He's had some bad years, he's had some good years. He had a year where he was a 110.4. If we get closer to that, that was with the Knicks. But point is, he's a guy that, again, gives you some defensive versatility, just like Andrew Wiggins. He is similar in price, but he's also younger, right? And a guy that still makes sense and kind of provide a lot of the same things. Also, again, maybe you can, in the process, get an Abaji, right? Lakers are reluctant to give up the first for Andrew Wiggins, right? Supposedly, Miami wants Rui Hachimura, Dalton Connect, and a first-round pick in order to acquire an Andrew Wiggins, right? Well, if you could I would rather do the same package and go get an RJ Barrett, if that's possible. Obviously, it depends on, what does his market look like and shape up, but how much different is his market going to be than Andrew Wiggins, right? Maybe a little bit more because he's younger, but are teams really breaking the bank and running to go get an RJ Barrett? Probably not. Right? To me, I think RJ Barrett is a good alternative to an Andrew Wiggins if we could get RJ Barrett for Rui Connect and a first, or Andrew Wiggins for Rui Connect and a first, rather take RJ Barrett. I think there are arguments to be made either way. Andrew Wiggins is a guy that has the experience. He's been and won an NBA championship. He was a huge component he was so good in that championship run that, there was arguments about him winning the finals MVP. Now, that was kind of more of like a fluke run because he's never done anything close to that before, and he's never done anything close to that after, right? Since. So, is he able to kind of re-spark that at some point with a team like the Lakers? Outside of that, if you're just looking for generalized production, they're incredibly similar. Right? You're not talking about you're not talking about two guys that like are super varied. Right? You're talking about two guys that, from a stats perspective to a contract perspective to production. Like you look at RJ Barrett. Last year averaged 21.1 points per game, 6.3 rebounds, and 5.4 assists while shooting 47% from the floor. Right? That's really good. You look at Andrew Wiggins, 18 points, 4.5 rebounds, 2.6 assists while shooting 44.8% from the floor. So basically 45%. So RJ Barrett's giving you more points, rebounds, and assists on better shooting percentage. Right? Both guys, are 6'7" in size and length and whatnot. RJ Barrett gives you that on-ball production, that off-ball production, a guy that can do both, a guy that can go get you buckets, but also defend multiple positions and play multiple positions. And also, if he's on a team like the Lakers, he's likely going to give you better production, right? Because it's one thing when you're on a team like Toronto. It's another thing when you're on a team like the Lakers where, you're game in and game out expected to play to a certain standard. We need you defensively. We need you to do X, Y, and Z. Like, you have to be bought in. You have to be focused, right? We're not playing for a play-in spot. We're not playing to just make the playoffs. We're playing for NBA championships. We're here to compete night in and night out and win NBA championships, right? But you look at last season, like going over RJ Barrett's stats. 58 games, 32.2 minutes per game, shot 46.8% from the field. He shot 35% from three-point range. Free throw shooting was really a struggle for him last year. He only shot 63% from the free throw line, which is not great. But from rebounding perspective, like I said, 6.3, assists 5.4, half a steal, a full steal, half a block, and 21.1 points per game, right? So again, he's giving you good production, right? He's giving you the things that you're looking for in the manner of like offensive production, defensive versatility, can make plays, can rebound the basketball, give you a little bit of everything out there, but he's also young enough to be a player long-term. Right? He's young enough to be a piece that can come in, contribute, play a role, right? Be like, if you go and get a small forward, say you want to go after this season, right? Say LeBron departs, right? You could go with something like a RJ Barrett or let's say you make the trade. Here's a better example. Say Lakers go and pull off a trade for a Giannis Antetokounmpo or a Nikola Jokic. One, if you can keep RJ Barrett, beautiful, because now you can slot him in. But two, they might be more inclined to do that trade because now you got an Austin Reeves, you got an RJ Barrett, you have multiple first-round picks that you could trade, you have multiple pick swaps that you can now trade. So now you just have a much more appealing package, right? Rather than even like an Andrew Wiggins, say you're going to go and make that trade. It's like, okay, well, you could have this 31-year-old, or you could take this 25, well, at the time, 26-year-old on top of, Austin Reeves, who's similar age. And now you have two, kind of building blocks, especially for a team like, Milwaukee that can't bottom out. Like, they can't fully bottom out. It's like, hey, here's Austin Reeves and RJ Barrett to kind of help, keep you good and competitive and give you flexibility. And here's some picks and other things. So you go make other trades and other moves. Same thing with the Nikola Jokic, right? You could go do something like that. But let's say you do miss out on those guys. All right, let's say you miss out on Giannis, you miss out on Jokic. You still have RJ Barrett, who could slot in at the 2, the 3, or even the 4 in some occasions, right? More 2, 3 for you. But, if you end up looking to trade in Austin Reeves at some point, right? You could, now you could trade Austin Reeves and just slide RJ Barrett to the 2, go with like a Vando at the 3, or, a Dude Thero, right? Maybe that's what you're doing. Maybe you're going like Luka Doncic, RJ Barrett, a Dude Thero, Jared Vanderbilt, or Jared Vanderbilt, Dude Thero, and then a DeAndre Ayton for you, right? Like, if you tell me you have RJ Barrett, Luka Doncic, and DeAndre Ayton, let's say as your core, right? And then Austin Reeves, we'll see what they end up doing with Austin Reeves. They probably keep Austin Reeves, but let's say they keep Austin Reeves. Okay, fine. So let's do it like that. Say Luka, Austin Reeves, right? A Dude Thero, RJ Barrett, and Jake LaRavia potentially, and then a DeAndre Ayton. That's a really good core and foundation for now and the future. It's a really good foundation to be a regular competitive championship contending roster year in and year out, right? And have the support alongside Luka Doncic. And RJ Barrett can defend. Jake LaRavia supposedly, last year he was a B+ rated defender, but supposedly he got better defensively. Dude Thero, we know for sure is going to be able to defend. It's just, can he put together the entire package? Rob Pelinka is like, do we see him as an OG Anunoby? I mean, if he could be anything close to that. Like, imagine, for just player's sake, imagine having an OG Anunoby with an RJ Barrett, a DeAndre Ayton, a Luka Doncic, and also, again, you're competitive. You're probably winning multiple championships. You're competitive year in and year out. You're one of the best teams in all of basketball year in and year out, right? RJ Barrett, again, not the perfect player, but a lot of comparables. So last year, like I said, he shot 35% from three-point range on 5.3 attempts. The previous year, he shot 39.2%. Right, when that was when he first got with Toronto. But you also need to keep in mind, the quality of looks that he's gonna get, right? The type of players he's playing alongside. Playing alongside Luka Doncic, LeBron James, Austin Reeves. He's playing alongside guys that are just gonna get him looks like he's never gotten in his career. They're gonna give him looks like he wished that he had, right? So the quality of looks, the opportunity for him to actually have a better shooting season, is gonna be really good. Obviously, the concerns are the last 2 seasons, he's played 58 games on the dot, right? He played 58 games between New York and Toronto, and then last year played 58 games, right? But before that, it was 73 games, 70 games, 72 games. So can he kind of get back to being that? Can he kind of get back to being in the 70 range, possibly, potentially? But, a guy, again, that's giving you good production, good shooting. Free throw shooting is the one concern. But he's had, good free throw shooting seasons. So he's a career 70% guy, which if he can be 70%, that's good. But the last 2 years, since being with Toronto, let me rephrase that. So year and a half, right? He has shot 63%. So for whatever reason, when he got to Toronto, his free throw shooting tanked, right? But if you look with the Knicks, right before he was traded to Toronto, with the Knicks, he shot 83% from the free throw line. The year previous, he shot 74%, right? And on 5.4 attempts. So it wasn't it was you only shot 2 attempts compared to, more volume, stuff like that. No. So he's giving you, he's shown that he can be a better free throw shooter, that he can give you better free throw shooting. Right, and then again, a guy that can give you a steal, that can give you a block, that can defend multiple positions, play multiple positions, actually coming off of a good defensive season, right? If you want to argue Andrew Wiggins is a better defender, sure. But again, RJ Barrett's younger, right? It gives you all the same production, can play on ball, play off ball, and he'd probably be the same price, if not cheaper, just based on the information we have that Andrew Wiggins want. Now, again, maybe that price drops. Right, maybe a team like Miami, especially if RJ Barrett is on the market, right? Maybe they can kind of even use RJ Barrett as that leverage to now go and pivot and do an Andrew Wiggins type trade, right? Hey, if you still want what you want, then we're just going to go do the same trade and get RJ Barrett. Right? If you want to get off Andrew Wiggins, then we're keeping our first, right? Or we're keeping Dalton Connect or whatever. My problem is I don't know if the Lakers will actually trade their first. That's the problem. Right, because Lakers really want to, again, they want to preserve their cap space and they want to have the assets in case for a Giannis or a Jokic or whatever. But my thing is, again, you still need pieces and players. And RJ Barrett, right, again, it might make more sense to a team like a Milwaukee or Denver or something like that. Because it's now you're putting together a player package to where it's okay, now we can still be competitive. We can still be good. We can kind of figure some stuff out, maybe flip some other guys or take the Lakers assets and now go trade. Because again, if you're talking about a Giannis, it's okay, well, we could give you 3 firsts that are probably not going to be very good because we're going to have Jokic and Giannis, or we can give you an RJ Barrett and an Austin Reeves. So it might be worth it for the Lakers to go trade that first, to go get a guy like an RJ Barrett. I get it for an Andrew Wiggins, but for an RJ Barrett, it might make more sense because now you have that player and his salary and his production and everything that you can now go trade that is probably more valuable to these teams than another first-round pick from the Lakers. Because it's again, they're going to have Luka for the next 10 years, and they're going to have Giannis for the next 5 to 7, right? Or Jokic for the next 5 to 7. Like, they'd probably rather have an RJ Barrett or whatever, or maybe you're pulling off a 3-team trade, whatever. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.